Minecraft's latest updates are going to cause major changes on 2b2t, the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft. Believe it or not, the biggest changes are not the new mob and its mechanics, but rather Mojang altering an old item's function for the first time in 13 years. It's going to create major problems for the server, on top of the ones it's already dealing with from previous updates. Since Minecraft is now releasing smaller content drops instead of large updates, the majority of changes we discuss today involve the two most recent drops, Bundles of Bravery and the Garden Awakens. Both of them have features that will affect the server once they are added. Some good, some bad, some really bad. Let's get right into it today. First off is the creaking, the newest hostile mob added to the game. On paper, it's not really that dangerous. It's only found naturally in one biome, it doesn't do a lot of damage once you have armor, looking at it prevents it from moving, and it only comes out at night. To any established player on an anarchy server, it is not a threat, but the mechanics behind the mob could actually make it both chaotic and useful. It can be spawned in any location at night by connecting a creaking heart to two pale logs. This effectively turns it into a hostile mob spawner you can place anywhere. So by putting a lot of them at spawn, it could become a lot harder for new players to escape. Other than waiting until daytime, the only way to kill creakings is to destroy the heart block they're connected to, so they can be covered in obsidian to prevent unarmed players from removing them. Without armor, creaking attacks can be quite dangerous, especially in numbers. I could see them being used almost like scarecrows to protect crops and other resources from thieves, and unlike wardens, which require an extreme amount of work to relocate, all you need is a single block to spawn them. Since they are so easy to spawn, I wouldn't be surprised if the server's admin, Housemaster, has to limit them for performance reasons. But overall, I see them becoming a common sight on 2b2t. Now, the Pale Garden itself is a really cool biome with a gray sky and eerie landscapes. I can see builders flocking to these regions to make bases. The wood variant is probably one of the coolest I've seen in Minecraft for a very long time. Given 2b2t's history of amazing builders and creative works, I see the new blocks found in the Pale Garden being utilized in really interesting ways. The biome also introduces a strange flower called the eyeblossom that can open and close to reveal what's essentially a glowing eye. They look cool, but there's a hidden use for them as well. You can actually create a stew that causes blindness or nausea, depending on whether the blossom used is open or closed. I definitely see players using these to troll people. Imagine scavenging for food at spawn only to find a stew that makes this happen. It'll be interesting for sure, but next are bundles, an item that's going to make life a lot easier for new players as far as inventory management goes. They are easy to craft and will allow players to store and carry more items even if they don't have a base yet. Since bundles can only carry a limited quantity of select items, they are not overpowered compared to ender chests or shulkers. Many longtime players remember the thrill of scavenging and finding their first shulkers left behind in ruins or on the side of a highway. This experience is not diminished by bundles, which offer functionality without being too overpowered. There is a downside though. Because of how they function, I wouldn't be surprised if 2b2t players eventually figure out duplication exploits using them. Bedrock Edition actually has a working bundle dupe, and in Java, Mojang has made some internal changes to the game that make item dupes more likely, but we'll come back to that in a little bit, because this is where things go from bad to worse. In the Bundles and Bravery update, for the first time in 13 years, Mojang made a huge change to Ender Pearls. A thrown pearl will now load the chunks it is tossed into, which means if the pearl is suspended without hitting the ground, everything surrounding it stays loaded, no matter how far away from the pearl a player is. The only limitation is if a player disconnects from a server, their pearls will disappear as well, at least until they log back in. If you play a lot of single player or only frequent small servers, I can see this functionality being useful to keep chunks loaded. In fact, many technical YouTubers have been thrilled about this change. But for 2b2t and the Anarchy community in general, it's going to be a performance nightmare. Anyone with enough Pearl stasis chambers can effectively lag a server to death as long as they remain logged in. It's become a running joke that 2b2t players can weaponize anything in Minecraft, but Pearls absolutely will be used in this way. To learn more, I spoke with technical Minecrafter Ezeanol, who has developed several different exploits on 2b2t, such as the modern-day Chunk Trail Finder, which has brought base and stash hunting to the next level. He also griefed Tommy Innit's Minecraft server not too long ago, so when I asked him about Ender Pearls, he claimed that both lag machines and server crashing exploits are possible using them. One hypothetical method is launching a Pearl in a straight line at lightning speeds, forcing all the chunks in between to load instantly. Pearls are definitely going to be a problem, and it's the last thing the server needs because 2b2t is already facing update-related problems. We're about to go down a rabbit hole, so bear with me for a second. A few versions ago, in the Armored Paws content drop, Mojang did a complete rewrite of in-game item modifications, or the NBT system, changing them from tags to components. This change meant a lot of 2b2t's custom plugins likely had to be rewritten, which probably took time and money. A side effect of these NBT changes are item duplication exploits. For example, the Book and Quill dupe, which had previously been removed, is now back in the game fully functional. It may not seem like a big deal, but if this dupe is back, others likely are too, and on Anarchy servers, dupes can cause problems very quickly. Even if House is able to update past this version, you still have the Tricky Trials update, which comes with its own set of potential exploits. Assuming nothing goes wrong there, you then have Bundles of Bravery, which has the Ender Pearl changes. I wouldn't be surprised if Ender Pearls are modified on the server to have their old behavior of not loading the chunks they're thrown into. I don't see how else it could work, even if that problem is solved. Now you have to make sure that any exploits involving bundles won't be possible, and trust me, players will find them. Once that's out of the way, you're looking at potential performance issues again with being able to spawn creakings anywhere. When you're dealing with a server as old as 2b2t, any small change is going to have massive impacts and require a lot of work to circumvent any problems, which is why every new version often needs to be tested by House to make sure nothing breaks, and things usually break. There's a lot of debate in the Minecraft community whether Mojang switching to smaller updates instead of larger ones is a good thing. I'd say if you're a casual player, it's good, but if you're a server owner or developer, it's probably not so fun to constantly be jumping through hoops to get things to work. So, while Minecraft's latest content will have some positive changes for Anarchy servers, it also introduces very difficult problems that will require tricky solutions, which is why updating to the Pale Garden is a problem for 2b2t.